Okay, we have a project where we need to convert 2 1.25" mortise thumb turns into 2.25" mortise thumb turns, and that's because we have I don't remember the thickness of the door that we're working on, but we're dealing with a couple of thick doors, really long mortise cylinder there. 2.5 inch in length is what this is. What best does is best measures from the underside of the head to the back of the body itself, not including the cam, so that's 2.5 inch in length. So I don't recall exactly, because this job was ordered almost 5 weeks ago, and it took 5 weeks for these cylinders to come in, these special length best small format cylinders. And anyway, however we got to needing 2.25 inch length cylinders is not exactly important at this moment. So let's go ahead and make these. So I have my mortise cylinder here. I'm going to be adding a 1 inch extension to it so that it's 2.25. And I'm going to use the Major MCE 100 tool. I've used this a number of times to do this, and let's just do it. We have the drill guide here, and this is going to go onto our unit that we're going to extend. And what I like to do is add the driver to the cylinder, because when I install the cylinder into the drill guide, I'm more sure that it is aligned, and I'll explain what I mean. So when you insert this into the drill guide, okay, you're not really sure if it's aligned correctly or not. So I like to install the driver, which is this small piece here, and this driver is meant for Kaba ilco cylinders, and they have different drivers for different platforms of cylinders, and I have only ever extended Kaba ilco cylinders. I've not done it on Corbin or Schlage or any other models that they have. Just the opportunity hasn't presented itself. Not that I wouldn't or won't. So I have this loosened up so I can get my cylinder put right inside of here. And I use that as a means by which to make sure that I'm in alignment with the part of the extension that I'm going to ultimately add to this, which is here. Okay. So the next step is to tighten that down. And you do that by using this large Allen wrench that's here. I don't tighten it very much because I don't see any need to tighten it very much. I just want that to stay in place as I'm drilling into this. Okay, so I've got my drill bit here, and I don't recall the size, but it's an easy size in which to use. The next thing here is to determine the depth of the cylinder. That you're going to be drilling into. And my opinion is that we just have way too much okay, so it really needs to be no more than about 3/8. So what I'm doing is my drill depth collar I've got set too deep. I'm going to drill far too deep. And that only needs to be about 3/8 of an inch at the very most. So I'm going to loosen that. I don't know how it moved, frankly, from my last job, which I did a month or so ago. I'm going to get that set to about 3/8 of an inch. And I'm just eyeballing it because it's not crucial in the sense that you know, whether I drill 5/16 or 3/8 or 7/16 doesn't so much matter. What's most important is that you don't drill too deep into the cylinder. You know, there's no reason to drill so deep into the cylinder because these screws that hold the extension on, that's a pretty good depth there, that hold these extensions on, they only go through the extension, you know, by about 5/16 of an inch. So my hole doesn't need to be that deep. Okay, so the next step here is to drill our 2 holes that we're going to ultimately tap. And I'm an advocate of thread cutting oil. It does absolutely prolong the life of your tools. I'm also an advocate of trying to stay as neat as possible, although I've had many projects that have gone south real fast in that attempt. So I'm going to dip a little bit of oil down into here. And I have a whole stack of paper towels next to me. That is plenty. Plenty. Wipe off the excess right away. Just have a typical power drill here. Generally, I just, you know, drill straight and slow. I can start to see the shavings come out. Morning, Ian. My desk is in an area where other people walk by. So I'm just going to get the bushing, the shavings out as gingerly as possible. And we'll go about drilling our second hole in a moment. I do like to check the drill depth guide frequently because, you know, it's just held on by a small set screw and I don't want it to move at all. I think next time I won't drip the oil at both times. I'll do only the hole that I'm drilling. Got the camera positioned probably on the wrong side since I'm right-handed. Okay. Now with any luck, those holes are positioned very well. Now they should be. I find that this template doesn't actually put them exactly where I would like the holes to be. I actually have a total of 2 cylinders to do. So we'll remove this one. Got a couple of holes drilled there. That's going to work out. Okay, a couple of nice clean holes have been drilled. We're going to go ahead and just drill the other cylinder. I like to just basically maximize the setup every single time. Okay, just making sure that all fits. Put on our next drive cam. And again, the drive cam's just put on to help us align the cylinder within the fixture. A lot of oil and buildup there, so I'm definitely going to take a moment and clean that before I proceed. I'll do a more thorough job once I get the entire project done cleaning the tools before I put them back into storage, basically, till the next job. Okay, that's in. We'll just tighten it up for good measure. Going to dab 1 drop of oil. Whoop. Actually 2 drops because that's just what I like to do. So 1, we'll drill the second hole. I don't think I really need to use this fixture, but there's really no excuse for eyeballing anything. Just going to run the excess off the tip of the shavings off the tip of the drill bit. Okay. Oil in the second hole. I guess 2, because I figure 1 of the 2 drops will get mostly in there. Okay. I've drilled maybe 10 cylinders worth with this one drill bit. And I do, obviously the material's made of brass, so it's very soft. But I also do liken it to the fact that I use thread cutting oil. And plus installers, people who do nothing other than work in the field, they swear by it. Second hole is drilled. We're going to loosen. Actually, we're not going to do that just yet. Clean our drill bit. Because we won't be needing this tool anymore, hopefully. I can see now why that bushing was not in the proper position. It's because I move it to clean it. Okay. Couple of pretty clean holes there. All right. Now, These shavings have a way of hanging around and then ending up in my toe at some point. Tools, especially locksmithing tools, are always a substantial investment. It seems that there are many tools to do jobs, but there's always one tool that's better than every other tool, and while it may not be perfect for what you want to do, it is the best tool, and those tools end up being quite costly. I guess the point of it is, you know, a couple of minutes of maintenance is better than buying a new tool. Yes, I have a compressor. It's just not at my desk. And I've got that pretty clean. Okay. So now the next step is to attach our tap guide. And for that, we will remove the drill guide from the fixture. I have to admit I've not used the tap guide every time I've tapped these holes. I have found different levels of success, and I've also, you know, done that to just simply clean the tool as well, which we will certainly get to. Okay, now comes the tap guide. And I'll leave them both loose because I want to get the cylinder in through both pieces and make sure that it turns, that it rotates nicely. Okay. Once I have that and it rotates nicely, I'll then with my thumb I'm holding the plate down. I'm now going to kind of tighten my tap guide, making sure that that still rotates. Yeah. It does. Alright, so now tap handle and tap. It's an 832 tap. Okay, I'm going to drop some fluid down there. Oh. With tapping, you're going to want to get it seated and then put reasonable pressure forward as you're rotating so that you can start the thread. And again, because it's brass, it's very soft material to tap into. Now, you want to be very careful when you're tapping this because you have to be mindful because you're going to hit the bottom of that hole. And all that feedback is coming through your hand. So as soon as you start to feel like you've gone far enough, definitely stop. And that is the point. You can definitely tell that I've basically bottomed out. I'm going to come back out. I'm going to consider that adequate. Two things. I'm going to clean the end of my tap because there are shavings on it naturally. And the second thing is to dab a little bit of oil back in that second hole. Okay, right where I wanted it. And you can kind of feel it cutting the threads. It's brass again, so you feel less of that than you would if it was steel. Yeah, you get to a point where you can tell you can't go any further. And if you go further, you're just going to destroy the threads. Okay, so cleaning off the tap. Going to remove our first cylinder, our first thumb turn. Couple of tapped holes there now. Time for our second cylinder. Tighten it into the fixture. There we go. Okay, a little bit of oil into the second hole. I think probably 1 drop of oil is going to be sufficient on the second operation of tapping the holes. because there's plenty of residual oil down in the tool, as you may have noticed earlier. Oops. Okay, that's nice and clean. Okay. We're going to remove the cylinder from the fixture. Oil definitely prolongs the life of your tools, but does require extra cleanup. I'm going to reassemble the tool back so that on the next job we're ready to go when it comes to step 1. I'm going to leave that loose because I'm not really sure, you know, on the next job is when I will tighten it when I've got a cylinder going back into it. Okay, so now it's just assembly. and these are going in some Adams Wright lock sets. And what I mean by that is they will take just the typical MS cam. Adams Wright has certainly more than one tailpiece. They have three, in fact, or cams. There are three cams, and almost all of them take the typical MS cam. So now we've got that attached. We've just screwed it together as you saw. Okay, not a lot to really think about there. The last final thing for us to do, turns reasonably well, is put on our AR cam. Now we've got a 2 1/4 inch length mortise cylinder. Okay, let's assemble the second one. And Major makes these extensions in different sizes, and if you were to get longer screws, and that's obviously an 832, it's not obvious, but it is obvious because the tap says it's 832. Not that you can see that. But if you get longer 832 screws, you can stack extensions. And the longest I've done, well, in a cylinder, I've got a 6-inch cylinder around here somewhere just for my collection, but in an actual job, I have I've probably done 4.5 inch. And you know, you can stack these together, and they will work just fine. You're just going to need longer. You're going to need screws for that length. Sometimes how you tighten the screws, you know, because you're trying to drill something that is perfectly spot on with a fixture that's not necessarily perfectly spot on, and most definitely I'm not most perfectly spot on. So sometimes you just need to adjust those screws a little bit. And you know, it doesn't, you know, with time it will wear. It's got a small little giddy up. There's something not machined correctly because of the absolute alignment, which is pretty good. But it's acceptable. It's good enough to work. It's going to work. And I do have another video where I've gone through the steps of this MCE 100. Is that the part number of this tool? Yeah, MCE-100. There is another video out there that I've made where I've gone through those steps quite painstakingly. I think if I was going to install these myself, I would have some thread lock as well. I would never want any of these screws to come loose. There's a little tough spot there. That every time I work it, it gets a little easier. Yeah, definitely. And being such soft material, it's going to break in like a nice pair of gloves, in fact. Here we go. We have a couple of 2 1/4 inch length mortise thumb turns, and your lead time is 42 minutes. That's not bad. Where are you going to get 2 1/4 inch mortise thumb turns in 42 minutes? 2 of them. So I keep the parts on hand, these extensions, in different sizes, drive cams, and obviously the cams for the back of the cylinders. And there you go. And you can see now my client's dealing with some unusual door thickness, and I know that he's not installing the lock in the absolute center either, which accounts for the 2.5-inch length mortise cylinders from best, and then the 2.25-inch length mortise thumb turns. Any questions on this, please feel free to reach out to us. My name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and thank you very much. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.